What's the most ridiculous excuse someone gave to skip a mandatory HR meeting? I'm the HR manager at a medium-sized firm in the US, where assistants are absolutely essential. They run schedules, manage calls, handle their supervisors' logistics. Basically, they keep everything from falling apart. One Wednesday, one of our department heads told me that his assistant, Alex, was leaving. I talked to Alex the same afternoon, and he told me his last day would be the following Friday. Not quite 2 weeks' notice, which was annoying, but within his rights, so I let it go. What I didn't let go was how he behaved afterward. For the next week and a half, Alex seemed determined to make everything harder than it needed to be. When I tried scheduling interviews for his replacement, he kept pushing certain candidates, insisting on controlling the process like it was his personal project. He refused to follow recruiting protocol and even told his supervisor, let's call him Brian, that HR was giving him trouble, which wasn't true at all. But all of that was nothing compared to trying to schedule his transition meeting and exit interview. In our company, the transition meeting and exit interview happen together. I handle them myself. They're usually simple. I give the final paycheck, explain how to continue benefits if they want, go over retirement plan details, and then offer them the chance to give feedback. It normally takes no more than 20 minutes, and no one ever objects. At first, I put a time on hold for his last day. A few hours later, Alex emailed me saying he wouldn't be available because he needed to focus on wrapping up things for Brian. I reminded him that I needed to meet with him to provide required documents and information. He told me to just leave the paycheck on his desk. By that point, his tone had gotten so rude that I looped in my boss, our head of HR, Carla. I replied again, politely explaining that the meeting wasn't optional and involved more than just the paycheck. I also let him know he could reach out to anyone in HR if he had questions. He ignored the email completely. The next morning, I followed up. He ignored that too. I saw him in the elevator, and he refused to even nod or acknowledge my existence. That's when I realized this wasn't stubbornness, it was avoidance. By that afternoon, I'd had enough. I briefed Carla, who immediately called Alex. She started out calm and friendly, saying she heard he was having trouble finding time for the exit meeting. He gave the exact same excuse, that he was extremely busy and couldn't spare even 15 minutes. He thanked us for understanding, then added that if there were any issues, we could check with Brian. Carla just nodded at me. If that was truly his preference, then that was exactly what we would do. She told Alex that if he was that busy, we'd absolutely make sure his supervisor approved the time. Before he could respond, she simply said we'd call Brian and hung up. We dialed Brian a minute later. Carla apologized for interrupting his day and explained that Alex wasn't making himself available for an exit meeting, and we needed his help making sure time was set aside. Brian immediately asked how long the meeting would be. When she said 15 minutes, he sighed and said, that's completely unreasonable. Of course he has 15 minutes. I'll take care of it right now. We thanked him and went back to our regular work. Not even 5 minutes later, Alex appeared in our office doorway, completely flushed and visibly upset. He demanded that we conduct the exit meeting right then. I stayed calm and explained that I had documents to prepare, which is why we had been trying so hard to schedule a specific time. Carla reminded him gently that leaving a company comes with procedures, and we were simply following them. Alex then said he didn't appreciate us contacting Brian and felt it was disrespectful. Carla kept her tone light and reminded him, very clearly, that he had told us to reach out to Brian if there were any issues. She said we were glad it was now a priority for him and asked if 10 a.m. tomorrow would work. He didn't respond. He just turned and walked off. The next morning at 10, he showed up for the exit meeting. What should have been 15 minutes turned into much longer because he kept trying to debate every line of the paperwork and argue about company policy. I answered everything calmly and clearly until we finally wrapped up. When he left the building, it was almost a relief for both of us, I think. And the best part? All he had to do was sit down for 15 minutes. Instead, he turned it into a week-long saga that ended exactly where it would have if he just cooperated from the beginning.